Ladies and gentlemen, theologians of all shapes, sizes, and ecumenical proclivities. This is the Story of Godcast. My name's Trip.
And my name is Barry.
And this is a podcast where we talk about the story of God. Not just God's story or the different stories of God across human history, but the one voiced by Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman's Story of God.
Yeah, it's a National Geographic a show. And if you're listening to this on the Homebrewed Christianity stream, that's because this is a simulcast. Now, we're not
simulcast, or is it a pre-promotional?
It's a preview
document,
but it's also a simulcast,
right?
In that it's simultaneously podcasted in multiple streams, and that's just so that you know that Barry and I have a completely different podcast in Homebrewed, called The Story of Godcast.
Indeed,
where we talk about the story of God with Morgan Freeman on National Geographic Channel.
Yep.
And if you listen to the Story of Godcast, you should know there's a whole other podcast called the Homebrewed Christianity Podcast, where if you like the story of God, you should listen to it, because we're going to have some special interviews, conversations, and episodes that even extend the themes on the show.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And on top of all that, Barry.
Yes, true.
On top of all that, this January 16th, like just a few days from now, if you're listening to this when it comes out, or if it's after it came out, that's why people have the internet.
That's right, because you can go retroactively to the National Geographic Channel and watch the first episode of the second season of The Story of God, the topic of which is The Chosen One.
You may be saying to yourself, The Chosen One? No, it's not about the Matrix.
And it's not about Eddie Murphy.
Nope.
And it's not Morgan Freeman, although he is the chosen one when it comes to being the voice of God.
Yeah, he's a consistent voiceover option right there.
Totally.
And it's not the one plane that through the story of God they regularly fly in.
No.
But the plane is still here this season. I know you're wondering.
Yeah, you know, I kind of like the plane. I just like the sight of...
It's a touchstone, you could say.
The hand sort of pushing the throttle up, and away we go to another country. Well... Usually Egypt.
This season, though, I'll just tell you that there are different countries, different religious traditions get featured.
This is actually, to be honest, I think this is probably a little more of an in-depth. It's a slightly shorter series, only 3 episodes, but it digs in, I think, a little more richly and deeply into traditions and ideas about the topics they're addressing.
And so episode 1 that talks about the chosen one, obviously, I mean, you may be surprised, depending on your religious tradition, you probably know who the chosen one is, but other religious traditions have chosen ones, and a lot of religious traditions understand themselves as the chosen religious tradition.
Indeed.
And in that kind of distinction of selected and, well, you know, not so selected, is pretty popular. It's like humans think their God is the right God and picks their side consistently.
It's true.
And but we shouldn't take it personal because we didn't do the picking.
This is true. This is why Bob Dylan wrote God on Our Side, I think, is the best sort of response to that notion.
And we'll probably talk about it next episode when we talk about the chosen one.
Probably should save that then, right? Don't give too much away.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, like the second episode's about heaven and hell.
Wow.
And since last season, we began an episode with the Squirrel Nut Zipper song. We have to come up with a different song.
It's true. See, we didn't realize there was going to be a season 2, so we gave away our best stuff.
We should have anticipated it.
Yeah.
Because we knew that National Geographic, what they really needed was the Story of Godcast podcast bump.
Yeah, but heaven and hell, we can go with Bon Jovi, really, because, there's that line in Living on a Prayer about, this could be heaven or this could be hell.
Oh, living on a prayer. Well, if you take my hand,
I'll take you there.
Mm-hmm.
See? Which one? But where's he going to take you?
I don't know yet.
I mean, he's not taking you there like the Staple Singers would take you there, is he? It could be heaven or hell. Anyway, so that's the second episode. So the first episode,
which is funny. Like if you wanted to watch that second episode, and you could be at Theology Beer Camp, because we're going to watch it at Theology Beer Camp, and James Younger, the executive producer, is going to be there.
Who I believe is a Manchester United football supporter like me.
I remember you discussing this.
The chosen one could be Zlatan, which is a pretty good name for a chosen one. Zlatan
Yeah.
Ibrahimovic. Or Ibrahimovic.
I think you should just stick with the first
yeah,
name.
I know. It's Latin. I can't even really pronounce it. But
Well, look, the chosen one having
the notion of the chosen one is a very interesting thing, because there is that tendency amongst humans to lay claim to an individual or a particular notion or deity and make it singular in its capacity to influence and shape everything.
Well,
I just got serious there for a minute, didn't I?
It did. If something's not exclusive and proprietary, it's not even worth having. The access, like,
unless it's like access to somebody else's Netflix.
Well, that's different.
Yeah,
that's in the sharing is caring category.
That's like in the sharing economy.
Yeah, and
so what you're really saying is the religious community is not a sharing economy. There's a problem there.
The third episode is about the proof of God.
The proof of God. Yeah.
And I want to go ahead and give you...
is that like a photo proof?
This is a spoiler warning. It's unrelated to Sasquatch. But...
I'm not watching.
I know. I was sitting there the whole time like, look, if you show me Lockie, that's my nickname for Loch Ness. Because I heard someone else call it Nessie, and I thought...
we Nessie.
Yeah, but Nessie, that doesn't sound like a monster.
You've been to Loch Ness?
No.
Oh, I have.
Well, I know. I can tell by your accent.
No, actually, my accent's a long, long way from Loch Ness.
I don't know. For Americans, that's one.
I used to go every year with a friend of mine.
You hear that American imperialism? If it's a European accent, it's one hut over.
Make Nessie great again.
Well, never mind. We're gonna have the Proof of God episode, and I just want you to know in advance that it may not fully articulate the 5 ways of Thomas Aquinas, but Barry has said, Tripp, what I really, really want is a very detailed explanation in the podcast of Thomas Aquinas' 5 ways.
I did ask for that, dear listener.
And I said, I'm not sure you want that. Okay, done. And then he said, but could you expound on the history of the ontological argument in the Western philosophical tradition? I said, yes, I have thoughts about that.
Yeah.
And
so I'm Barry said, on that episode I won't actually be talking. I'll just be taking notes.
But no, because people don't understand.
You know, if we're going with the 5s, could you give me a breakdown of Tulip as well while we're done? I mean, because we might as well get it in the right context.
Well,
and then we'll send it to John Pepper to make sure that he thinks it's right.
Oh, John Pepper?
No, John Pepper.
Yeah, John Pepper. He's very, very...
Piper, picked a pepper, pippers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if you remember his recent sermon on the existence of God, but he said that nothing revealed the glory of God quite like AC/DC's Highway to Hell album.
Well, I mean, I might go with High Voltage, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, High and Highway both have high at the beginning of it.
Speaking of the transcendent.
And in the other thing, I say, if there are 3 episodes this season on the story of God with Morgan Freeman, that is a vestige of the Trinity.
Yeah. So even though it's interreligious, let's just face it, there's a Trinitarian.
Or is it multi-religious? Because I don't know. I just feel like if you pick fights about the difference between inter and multi, that should demonstrate your intellectual superiority.
Yeah. Or your lack of a life.
Well, look, if this is not a psychology podcast.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Look,
I've just been trying to do a little work on myself,
Oh, no,
it's not working, by the way.
It's not?
No.
No?
No.
Well,
but I think these 3 episodes of the story of God will probably be very helpful to me, because I'm trying to work out what I think about the chosen one. Heaven and hell, they're interesting concepts, and I think contested, both within and without religion. So that's the interesting thing. I mean, which would be an interesting thing to talk about. How we were tied to the kind of ideas of those almost geographically, particularly like Dante and his spheres and the celestial spheres and the whole reality of living in a flat world with heaven above and hell below. And, other religious traditions as well. And yet now in the digital age, That's not something that people really necessarily subscribe to. And yet, particularly within Christianity, there seems to be a very strong medieval urge to maintain those locationally and experientially, and I think in other religions they have different notions of that. So that'll be an interesting conversation.
Well, and I think Adorno and he's like, I don't believe that heaven and hell are real, but I believe in them, because if you don't have these,
such a typical secular liberal position.
I know, but
he must be a communist.
I don't know. He's a Frankfurt school, and I just thought that meant he was a fan of kosher hot dogs.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that. No, I actually think he went to the Hamburg school.
Hamburg school. Well,
you know what comes from Hamburg?
Well,
Bergs.
Oh, tortas.
Tortas.
But one of the things, like his whole argument for these concepts being so essential is, otherwise you could look at something like Auschwitz, and if God's out of Auschwitz, then you aren't shooken to your core correctly, because the event itself doesn't call into question any type of depth dimension of goodness, reality, transcendent. And if God's there, then God is just ridiculous.
I kind of have the feeling that I'm not going to argue with the man, because I don't think he's alive anymore. But
he was a setup for a transition to talking about the proofs of God.
Oh, sorry, because I was just going to say I think something like Auschwitz should be plenty of proof of depth dimension in life. Personally,
are you allowed to say Auschwitz and giggle, Barry?
Well, now you've brought it up. No, but it was because I was looking at you and you were smiling at me.
This is a podcast.
That's true.
They can't see my face.
That's true.
But after the third episode, when Morgan Freeman demonstrates the existence of God by sounding like God talking.
Yeah.
Anyway, the one of my favorite things, I guess, about the show is that if you have a philosophy of religion degree like me, it's very rare most of your friends will talk to you about any of the topics.
Yeah.
But if they watch Morgan Freeman talk about it, they'll ask you questions.
Yeah, and it's a pretty I mean, I have to be honest, it's a pretty accessible show.
Yeah.
And there are interesting things to consider in all of it. So, and I know that there's a Native American thread.
Yeah.
This time, so it's kind of broadened out from the last time was essentially sort of Egyptology,
and a lot more Buddhism,
and Judaism, and then a healthy dose of Christianity. I think this way there's a little more kind of primal elements of religion as well. So
yeah, I like the fact that it's less Western centric in a sense, because
that plane is flying to more exotic locations.
Yeah, more locations.
Yeah, I'm just really grateful that they got exactly the same shot as they did in the last series, and it must have been really difficult for the set person to remember exactly how that shot was taken. So kudos.
I guess it's Morgan's airplane.
Yeah, I'm guessing
that's the one he rides. But the last thing we should tell everyone, Barry, is that when the show ends, they may be saying to themselves, I have a lot of questions. I have things. I think I believe these things. I'm skeptical about this. I got a stack of questions, and what am I to do? There's only 3 episodes of the story of God. I'm in a pickle, an existential pickle.
A conundrum.
A conundrum.
Bit of a pickle. A
bit of a pickle. An intellectual corset.
Corset? You mean courgette?
I don't know.
That's English for zucchini. Well, it's a French for zucchini, but we use courgette.
I'll see. What's French for croissant?
Crescent.
The croissant.
Croissant. Royale with cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what's happening after the Story of God podcast intro?
We're having a class.
That's right, we are. We're going to do our own online class. In fact, and we're doing 4 episodes.
4.
Because it takes us longer because we're not as cool as Morgan Freeman.
And we don't have editors. We don't travel.
And we don't have a
across
plane.
The internet.
We don't have a plane.
We don't have a plane.
Nope.
I mean, we might have a spiritual plane. I don't know. That's in
true.
week 3.
Yeah, really. So we're doing a class that begins in February.
Correctamundo.
Called
Questions for the Believing Skeptic.
Questions for the Believing Skeptic. And for 4 weeks, we're going to look at different aspects of belief, unbelief, non-belief, doubt, existential angst, confidence, certainty, surety.
You know,
the usual.
The use.
Actually, we're going to dig into the complexity of belief and believing in the 21st century on a serious note.
Yeah,
I'm feeling this slightly serious bent every couple of minutes here today.
Well, I was just hoping it would have happened when Auschwitz came up, because that would have been better. But
thanks for the shame.
You know, shame is an essential part of any religious tradition.
And it's an essential part of being British.
Oh, well then I was just trying to...
Excuse me for taking up space on the planet, people.
Nationalistic affirmation.
Thank you.
But one of the things that our goal for the podcast is a class is built for people who can't not be either a skeptic or a believer. Like, you're stuck in you're not completely confident in either place because you think there's more than either side kind of gives. So we're going to take the fact that there's inherent ambiguity and uncertainty in the questions as a given, as opposed to being like, hi friend, you should be more skeptical, or hi friend, you should try.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't you think that pretty much for the majority of people, either inside or outside of any religious affiliation, association, or persuasion, they're always ping-ponging between those 2 points? That, Jack Caputo says that every theist is an atheist at least once a day. So we sort of don't really pay as much attention to that as I think we really need to, in terms of considering the challenge of actually holding on to something, and what it is, perhaps even that we ought to consider holding on to, rather than what we think we should hold on to.
One of the things, even about that observation, like in the way it's said, I think the reverse is also true.
Totally.
That most people, even ardent atheists, lapse into a relationship with the world where they presume structured meaning, purpose, value, and all sorts of things. In the same way that you can't, even if you're a quote believer, what you're embodying is a protest to any of those things so often in the day. Yeah, and then you have contradictions conceptually, I think, in if you decide one identity is really complete. And one of the reasons I think the class is going to be fun is recognizing how over time, just even what's culturally assumed in that dynamic is switched.
Sure, totally.
And a lot of times the conversations I've had with friends that are comfortably secular, didn't grow up religious, with the haunting of religion connected, they are as unaware of how existence problematizes security in any conviction as conservative Christians are. And so
I would agree with that.
And so I think one of the fun things about the class itself is it's going, well, what does it mean to take both identities seriously simultaneously? How does it shape what it means to have faith and such? And we're even going to end in the class talking about Jesus.
We are?
Because the last question is, who do you say that I am?
I thought that was about Lionel Messi.
Well done. I thought you were going to say, I just ask myself that in the mirror every morning. Or
I know who I am.
Well, the other thing about the class, you'll meet someone who's very confident in their own self-identity.
In their own self-loathing.
His name is Barry Taylor. And the cool part, I think, is we're going to be doing video and audio versions and stuff. And if you're in the class, then you'll be able to use the videos in whichever one.
Yeah, so it's an online class. We're going to do it 4 weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
About an hour, probably, a bit longer, because we tend to
and 1 hour sounds difficult if I'm supposed to share.
So steel yourself, people.
The theory is the question of the week will both have, shorter little statements,
Yeah.
and then we'll discuss it together.
Yeah.
And we'll give you the video and the audio, and we're going to be turning it into a book. If you're in the group, you'll be able to discuss it with us online and in a group and everything. And the other part is you'll get the videos, and as we're working on the book, discussion guides and stuff, you'll be able to use it. So if you join the class, it's kind of like you're preparing to use it. So I think you could write it off for work.
Oh.
You're like, this is continuing ed, or it's curriculum expenditures. Why? I'm purchasing videos. I just happen to get them over a month.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Look at that. Tax-free living. And
That's
how would...
residential
Oh,
living.
that's right. Making living great again. How would people sign up for this class then, Trip?
Well, they go to this website called homebrewedchristianity.com.
Really? Homebrewedchristianity.com.
Correct. And on the sidebar, it'll be a big graphic that says, questions for the believing skeptic.
Don't doubt that, because it's true.
Yeah.
It'll be there.
There's not a lot of ambiguity around, and you click it.
Really?
Correct. That's what you do.
That's what you do.
And then everything's there. They'll see a video of us talking about it.
Oh, that's right. We did a video.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is my first day in my new black jacket.
That's right. It was my first. I think I was wearing green glasses, wasn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Mirrored shades, I think.
Well, so now they just want to go for that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It's fashion and theology, which I think is a potent combination and should be done more.
See,
because I'm actually on a mission.
You're on a mission
to redress the face of Christianity.
Well,
no flip flops if you join this class. Sorry.
See, no flip flops. I used to have them every day.
No cargo shorts.
No cargo shorts.
Yeah, no t-shirts with like witty little sayings on them, like the
even if you were
thing.
giving them for free,
especially if you were giving them for free. If you're giving it for free, give it away. Give it away. Give it away. Give it away now.
And this is
in fact, everybody should really wear a suit and a tie to come to this class. I'd have a dress code for everything if I could.
You could have a suit and a tie. You don't have to wear pants because it's online.
It's online,
so no one knows.
Nobody knows, and that's liberating.
But who is the official Los Angeles rock band? I had a discussion with friends the other day. So you have like the Doors, Guns N' Roses, Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was kind of the final three.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Interesting.
When you think of like, if you see them, you're like, oh, L.A.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose so. That's it. That's all we've got.
No. It was narrowed down.
It's kind of narrowed down.
Yeah, but this is like
So what is it again? Red Hot Chili Peppers.
The Doors.
The Doors. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Robbie Krieger
Guns N' Roses.
Down the street.
Who?
Robbie Krieger. From the Doors.
Oh,
Trip.
Robbie
Krieger.
He the keyboard player?
Yeah. I think perhaps the last man standing in the Doors, perhaps.
Well,
he's still standing in the door.
Well, you know who else is standing in the door and knocking?
The pizza guy.
And Jesus. All right. So
on that deep note,
the Story of Godcast is coming back, and then there's a class. So buckle your safety belts.
Join us both. It'll be fun.
Smoochy poochies.
I got nothing.
You don't?
No, nothing.
You know what the people have been saying?
Like on Diaz?
Don't get covered.